What if your commander's main ability was running away? Hey, I'm Paul from Missing Lands. I'm a guy who's sometimes funny on the internet and I absolutely adore Commander. And when a deck really grabs me, I sit down, break it apart and see what makes it tick. Today, we're looking at one of the strangest commanders ever printed, Norin the Wary. Let's start with the commander himself. Norin the Wary might be one of the strangest creatures ever printed. He costs just 1 red mana, and his entire personality is being a coward. Whenever a player casts a spell or a creature attacks, Norin exiles himself and then comes back at the end of the turn. So most of the time, he's not even on the battlefield, he's just briefly visiting. At first glance, that makes him look completely useless. He doesn't attack, he doesn't block, he doesn't even stay around long enough to equip anything to. But there's another side to this ability. Because Norin exiles himself on almost every spell cast, how do you actually remove him if you're our opponent? There are surprisingly few clean answers. Most traditional removal never lands because he's already gone. In practice, the most consistent ways to deal with Norin tend to be planeswalker abilities. So while he might look useless on the battlefield, he's actually very close to being immortal. And what does Norin do? Is enter the battlefield over and over and over again. And in Commander, repeated ETB triggers are where things start to get really interesting. Because this deck isn't built around Norin as a creature, it's built around Norin as an engine. Once we understand that Norin is constantly blinking in and out of the play, the real plan starts to make sense. Cards like Genesis Chamber and Loyal Apprentice are doing much more than making tokens. They're effectively damage multipliers. Every extra creature entering the battlefield means more triggers from our burn effects. More triggers means more damage, and more damage means the table starts melting surprisingly fast. Genesis Chamber is particularly incredible because Norin keeps on leaving and returning. It keeps generating mer tokens, obviously not just for us, but for everyone. And while that might sound symmetrical, we're the deck that actually benefits from creatures entering the battlefield. The same idea applies to our other token makers. They're not just board presence, they're fuel. Each new body entering the battlefield is another spark for the engine. This is the core of the deck. These are the cards that turn Norin's nervous personality into a real win condition. Impact Tremors and Witty Roastmaster are the classic examples. Every creature entering the battlefield deals damage to our opponents. So if Norin is entering every turn cycle and our token makers are adding even more creatures, those small pings start stacking up really quickly. Then we scale things up. Molten Gatekeeper and Warstorm Surge push this same idea further. And Vicious Shadows punishes opponents heavily whenever creatures starts dying, which tends to happen a lot in a busy board state. Individually, these cards look incremental. Together, they become pretty inevitable. We're not trying to explode in one turn, we're slowly, relentlessly draining the table while Norin keeps popping in and out like nothing's really happening. So this is where the deck stops feeling cute and really starts to feel lopsided and scary. Cards like Fiery Emancipation, Furnace of Wrath, Dictator of the Twin Gods and City on Fire multiply damage dramatically. Suddenly, those harmless 1 damage triggers aren't harmless anymore. They're 3 damage or 4 or 6. And because our deck produces lots of small triggers, these multipliers scale absurdly well. Torbran, Thane of the Red Fell, is especially brutal here. He doesn't double damage, he just quietly adds more to every single red source we control. But when you're triggering damage repeatedly across an entire turn cycle, that extra boost adds up frighteningly fast. The final piece of the puzzle is the Chaos package. Cards like Confusion in the Ranks, Possibility Storm, Grip of Chaos and Warp World don't deal damage directly, but they make it incredibly difficult for anyone else to execute their game plan. Confusion in the Ranks means permanents constantly get swapped around whenever something enters. And since Norin enters the battlefield all the time, that effect keeps triggering again and again. So while everyone else tries to build a stable board, the entire table slowly descends into an absolute mess. It's just permanent swapping constantly. Possibility Storm turns every spell into a slot machine. You cast removal, you might get something completely different. Decks that rely on sequencing suddenly struggle to function. Grip of Chaos makes targeted interaction unreliable. Removal can miss, combos can fail, plans fall apart. Warp World completely resets the board. But because we generate lots of tokens, permanents, we often come out ahead, swapping 1/1s for more effectful enchantments and lands, other things that actually matter. And of course, more permanents means more ETBs mean more triggers. And here's why all of this works so well with Norin. Norin doesn't need to be recast. He simply keeps coming back. While everyone else struggles through the chaos, Norin keeps returning. He's reliable, inevitable, untouched by most of this disruption. That contrast is where the real power of the deck lives. We disrupt everyone else's strategy significantly while our own engine keeps ticking in the background, completely unfazed. Norin keeps entering, our triggers keep firing, and the table slowly burns down whether they can stabilize or not. If you enjoyed this deck tech, let me know what direction you build Norin in, or what your favorite chaotic red commander is, because there's a lot. I'm Paul from Missing Lands. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.